And welcome back to another devotion. I am Pastor Roy Carlin here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Tuesday, September 23rd of 2025. We are in the book of Acts, and today we have made it to chapter 23. We're just going to look at the first 11 verses today, 1 through 11 today, which is actually more than we take on a normal day, so I shouldn't say just. But Paul has been arrested, or well, I guess retained by the tribune and questioned. They almost beat him up. Remember, they were gonna beat him, try to beat it out of him when they couldn't figure out what was going on, why those Asian Jews had caused ruckus, and Paul got attacked in the temple area, the court of the Gentiles. But they couldn't do that. So now he's going to take him before the Jewish council and see what's going on here. Trying to figure out what is the problem. What problem do you folks have with Paul? So, with that, let's look at verses 1 through 11 in chapter 23 of Acts, shall we? And Paul, looking intently at the council, said, Brethren, I have lived before God in all good conscience up to this day. And the high priest, Ananias, commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, God shall strike you, you whitewashed wall. Are you sitting to judge me according to the law, and yet contrary to the law you order me to be struck? Those who stood by said, Would you revile God's high priest? And Paul said, I did not know, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, You shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. But when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Brethren, I am a Pharisee, a son of a Pharisee. With respect to the hope and the resurrection of the dead, I am on trial. And when he had said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. For the Sadducees say there is no resurrection, nor angels, nor spirit, but the Pharisees acknowledge them all. Then a great clamor arose, and some of the scribes of the Pharisees' party stood up and contended, We find nothing wrong in this man. What if a spirit or an angel spoke to him? And when the dissension became violent, the tribune, afraid that Paul would be torn in pieces by them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them and bring him into the barracks. The following night the Lord stood by him and said, Take courage, for as you have testified about me at Jerusalem, so you must bear witness also at Rome. Okay, well, Paul, first of all, he's talking to the council, and the high priest, takes offense at what he says, and all he's saying is I've lived in good conscience up till now. The high priest apparently thinking that him telling people that they didn't need to be circumcised didn't qualify for living in good conscience up till now, is all that I can assume. Paul, of course, then lashes back at him and calls him a whitewashed wall. Now, want to remember in Matthew's gospel. Of course, Luke is the one that wrote Acts, so this is different gospel writer, I should say. But in Matthew, in chapter 23, you have verses 27 and 28, and this is Jesus speaking to the Pharisees here. Of course, the high priest would be a Sadducee. We need to remember that. But nonetheless, the teachers of the law and Pharisees, I guess he says here. Excuse me, in verse 27. I'll correct myself. I can do that once in a while. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Okay, so basically, I don't know if Paul is aware of Jesus as having taught that or not, but it's referencing the same kind of thing. You whitewash the tombs, they look pretty and white, but inside it's nasty, to put it lightly, because they leave the bodies there to rot away, and then they come in and disarticulate the bones and put them in an ossuary. So if you go into the tomb before the body is completely decayed, and even after it's decayed, with the air is stagnant in there, that stench is going to be there. And of course, it's unclean. You touch a dead body, you're unclean. You have to go through the whole ritual of becoming clean. So he's very much, I believe, my opinion, he's putting down the high priest. And of course, then they say, hey, how can you do that? He's a high priest. I wonder if Paul's not doing a little bit of special pleading there, saying, "Oh, I didn't realize he was a high priest." I kind of have to think he probably did know. He's just taking the opportunity to put him in his place, perhaps, if you will. At any rate, that exchange goes on, and Paul then sees a way to cause some friction here between the factions. I can't talk. Friction between the factions within the Sanhedrin, rather, with the Sadducees and the Pharisees. And he brings up, he's talking about Jesus' resurrection. That's what he's talking about here. The resurrection that Jesus had. The Sadducees couldn't even conceive and perceive, begin to understand the idea of a resurrection. But the Pharisees, that's part of their theology, that the dead will rise at the end times. Sadducees didn't believe that. So that's quite a bit of difference between those two sects in Judaism. So there's a lot of variation within what would have still been about 36 different sects of Judaism at that time. You have to remember that. And as I've been saying all the way through, Christianity, the way, is just the newest sect on the block. So he brings that up, the resurrection, and that causes the whole, chaos pursues. And it gets so out of hand that the tribune has to break him up, pull Paul out of there, get him out of there. And then we have that last verse, verse 11, that kind of tells us what's been going on all along here. Remember, Paul's been working his way towards Jerusalem, and everybody's telling him, don't go there. There's going to be trouble for you. We foresee trouble if you go there. And Paul's like, I got to go. I'm being drawn there. I'm being told by the Lord that I need to go there. And this is the reason why. Now we have the reason why in verse 11. The following night the Lord stood by him and said, take courage, for as you have testified about me at Jerusalem, so you must bear witness also at Rome. He has a destiny ahead of him. He has to go to Rome and witness to the emperor and the emperor's court. Doesn't bring the emperor into Christianity, but some of the emperor's court, the Caesar's court, do come into Christianity. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's what's going on there. And we can take a lot of stock in 11 when we are in a difficult time. I can't imagine being in a much more difficult time than Paul's at here. People are in equally as difficult times because they're facing death and persecution. But when we're in just the throes of life and things are not going right, we know that the Lord's with us. Take courage. He's with you, just as he's with Paul, all the way to Rome. He didn't desert Paul, never deserted Paul at all. Didn't desert Jesus on the cross. The Lord is with you right up to your hour of distinction, I guess we want to call it. That temple moment, as I talked about the other day. Take heart in that. That's what I got for you today. We'll cut it off there. Good enough. If you enjoy these devotions, these lessons, please like and subscribe. Come on back again. That's the most important part. Feel free to share, too. And if you want to make a kind comment, we'd love to hear from you. All right? Take care. God bless. Be a blessing to someone today. Don't forget, God loves you. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.